Are we doing some stupid intro?
I think that
No,
was it.
All right.
I guess not. I guess we're not. Welcome to the fourth. It's Just Brunch. Is this our fourth one?
That's my fourth mimosa.
Holler. Fourth mimosa today.
Yeah.
All right. So, how are you guys doing this week?
Well, today I look like dog shit because I stayed up till about 1 in the morning watching Queer as Folk, and I mean like hours of it. So
It's on
that's
Netflix now, right?
that's what's happening. What was that?
It's on Netflix now, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'm almost
Yeah.
done with it. I think it was added to Netflix about a week and a half ago, and I'm like really close to being done with it because I was like, next episode, next episode. I love it.
And there are like 15 seasons, so
There's five, but who's counting?
yeah.
Well, I had I think, a pretty good week. I went to my first ever Seder for Passover, and it was pretty gay. So I've been using the term coined by Kate, which is gator. Um,
Thank you for acknowledging my coining of that
yes,
term.
hat tip. And I think I am done with my thesis. I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
very, very close. I'm going to send it to Kim and see what she says, and then I have to send it to my second reader, Miss Sonia. Hi,
Is there
Sonia.
a huge relief? Do you just
I don't
Congratulations.
even know. It doesn't seem real because it's been like the elephant in the room of my brain
right?
for the past several months, and I think it's going to feel very weird to not have to think about it
Mm-hmm.
every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it always feels like it's not done. I mean,
Oh, I feel
especially
like I'm
working
done.
with Kim, there's so many edits, and you go around and around and around, and then you're finally at a place where it's actually done.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it doesn't feel real. When I printed mine, I'm pretty sure I cried when I picked it up at Staples.
I did too.
Great. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a big relief. Something tells me Colin won't cry, but
Well, I had to print out the first version because it was I sent her everything I had, and actually it was kind of emotional just to see everything like in print. This huge stack of pages, and it felt like I didn't cry, but I did have this amazing feeling of accomplishment. Like, I think anybody who is in an MFA program has moments, probably several moments where you question if you're doing the right thing because it costs a lot of money. And so I had a moment where I thought to myself, "Oh, I did the right thing," because I wrote all this stuff, which some of it's good, some of it's not so good, but I still wrote it.
yeah, damn
That's
right.
making
And
me
it'll be
emotional.
found. What'd you say, Zach?
That's making me emotional. Just that, like, because we've all gone through that struggle of being like, I'm a writer. Am I doing the right thing? Is this all shit? And then, like, to hear that you had just such a really good response to it, that's so nice and that's so relieving because I think it's something that we all like hope to have, that we just have that moment where it's like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and to actually have that moment is so nice. So I'm so
Well,
happy
the
that
neat thing is, if you're a writer and you have a manuscript, you can get that feeling by just printing it out. That's all I did. It's just great to
Three
feel it
months at
physically.
Staples. You too can
right.
be the writer. Let's see,
What
what's
about you, Kate?
happening? I've just been working a lot. Oh, and I'm reading Hollis's new book, and I'm posting the review yesterday. It was supposed to go up Friday, but life things got in the way. But I'm almost done with it, and it is so good. And I am not somebody that reads YA at all, but you can read my whole review on the blog because I just want to devour everything she's ever written now. After reading her YA novel, which is saying something for me because I sort of avoid that genre. But yeah, other than that, just been hanging out,
Hmm.
pimping the website.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I
living,
actually
living.
really love YA.
You love YA? No, it's not bad. It's fine. I've
Right.
never gotten into it. I don't. I don't really love voice-driven books
I see.
that much. Like, because I feel like a lot of them are in first person, and that's just,
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't love reading that kind of thing. But
I
this
get that.
voice is so strong, and whatever. I'm gonna save that all for the review. So
Oh yeah, good. Okay, good.
yeah,
I
that's
think
what I've
YA.
been
I
doing.
think YA is like any other segment in publishing. Like there's really good YA and there's really awful YA. It's the same
Right.
thing I would say with anything you can think of. There's good and bad.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of books, we are talking today about books that made us want to be a writer. So, one of you
All of
guys want
them.
to talk about yours? Yeah, every single book ever.
Well, I was thinking about this question because we mentioned it last week, and it was kind of fun to journey back in my mind and think of like what were the first books I ever even just read. Like the books I read as a kid, which were children's books. I mean, some of them were little, I don't know, silly, I guess. But they were fun. They opened new worlds for me. I remember I read a lot of. Did you guys ever read Enid Blyton as an author? I think she's British, and she may not be as big as in the U.S., but I just like read everything she wrote, and then I graduated onto the Hardy Boys, and then I read like a lot of fantasy. I mean, I was just um, but I would say, and then I'll let you guys talk. The first book I bought a copy that made me think that this is something that I would want to do with my own life was a book called Miguel Street, and it's written by Vidya Naipaul, V.S. Naipaul, who is also from Trinidad, and I think that was kind of one of the things that made him stand out to me because everybody I'd read so far was dead and British or American. And so I read, this guy, and I was like, wow, he's such a great storyteller, and he's using language in sort of new ways, and doing well, selling books and winning awards. So here it is, Miguel Street.
Ooh,
Cool.
that's a pretty cover.
It is a pretty cover. I'll tell you more about it in a second. What about you, Zach?
Um, I I remember starting like to read children's books. I loved Captain Underpants a lot, and I
That's a
started.
surprise.
It's right. Just that's how it all started. But I also remember this one book called I think it was called My Space Rock or Space Rock or something like that. And I remember reading that, and that's sort of how I started reading. But the book that really made me think about writing was Girl Interrupted by Susanna Kaysen. That I remember reading that and thinking, like, wow, this is such a confessional piece. People can write like this. That I just was so amazed that like books like this could be successful. And I loved the movie, of course. But most recently, I think the book that pushed me into kind of the more visual text was Fun Home by Alison Bechdel, because that was a nonfiction comic, which again, that was something I was like, oh god, like of course these exist. Why hadn't I been looking for them? So I think mine are kind of I have a few, but um, yeah, I don't know. What about you, Kate?
Well, I had a follow-up question for that. Do you think you're going to turn your work into a graphic novel, a graphic text?
I hope.
Because
I
of
would
Fun
love to.
Home?
I would really, really like to. I don't know what form that would take. The like one book that I did in my undergrad, it wasn't. I mean, it was a visual text. It was made out of like moss and like grass and mud and stuff like that. And I really love doing that. And there are authors that sort of do stuff like that. So I would like to do something like that, but I don't. I'm finding it difficult to balance writing essays with doing visual text because I think that they kind of compete with each other for space, I guess is what I'm kind of struggling with. But, hopefully I'll figure it out.
And that actually might be an opportunity for you, Zach, because I mean, the same way that Alison Bechdel, I think that she made a lot of people think about visual text in a new way. It was a different sort of approach to it, and I think you have an opportunity to to do something like that with your essays, because uh, I think you can be a pioneer and say, like, hey, here's some essays
Oh.
with some lithographs or with some, whatever. So do it.
Thank you. Well.
Get on it.
Kate,
Okay.
did you ever read a book as a kid?
I wasn't a reading child. When I started thinking about this, I thought about an exercise that actually one of our professors gave me in a workshop, Eugenia Kim, who's a fabulous writer as well. Hi, Eugenia. I don't know if she's watching, but I hope she is.
Oh my God.
So she gave us an exercise and workshop at the beginning of workshop to think about the first story we ever heard that really stuck with us.
Wow.
When I look back, I remember this book that my grandma used to read called Frederick. I don't have it, but it's about a little mouse.
No.
And I never really saw the connection until I started writing about why I like the book so much, well, the story so much. It's about a little mouse who everybody is running around getting ready to hibernate, picking up food and sticks and stuff like that, and he's just sitting there sort of observing. And he's sitting there with his eyes closed, so everyone thinks he's lazy, and everyone thinks he's not doing anything. But then a couple, weeks later, they're all underground, they're cold, they're bored, they are sad, and he starts telling them about the warmth of the sun and the smell of the grass and all of these details of life, in the spring and summer that sort of keeps them sustained in their souls while they're underground hibernating. And I realized that that's what writers do. We suck up all the stuff in our environments, and then we put it on the page for people's souls. And so that was the first book, the first story that stuck with me, and I think that means something. And then the book that made me write, not necessarily know I wanted to be a writer, but the book that made me write was Harriet the Spy.
Yes.
Because that's what she's doing the whole book. She's observing people, she's spying on them, and she's scribbling in her little composition notebook. And I got obsessed with composition notebooks. I have like 16 at my house right now. I just always buy them and write in them for some reason, probably because of her. So that book got me actually writing and observing everything in my life. And then I would say the book that made me really want to be a writer and realize that it was something that could impact people was 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, who passed away on Thursday.
There we go. It's a Marquez.
Marquez. Just.
I would pour one out, but I don't want to get my computer wet.
I know. I don't want to pour one out for him. He understands. For me, it's something to aspire to. It makes me want to be a writer and also just quit writing at the same time, because he was so good at creating worlds. I mean, and generations of families, like, just insane. So that book made me both want to be a writer more and also give up at the same time. And I think those are the books that stick with us as writers. So.
Yeah, and Kate, you brought up the idea of writers sort of being vessels for experiences in the world, and that we can sort of translate on the page for other people. And I think that, that's something that resonates with me. As somebody who writes nonfiction, it's really sort of reconciling things that have happened and making stories out of them, making sense out of them. And it's kind of what when I read this book, Miguel Straight by Nightfall, I read about people just like regular, ordinary day people. They weren't like outsized characters and heroic or villainous characters. They were regular, everyday people who lived like just in neighborhoods I recognized in Trinidad. So that I think that's one of the things that appealed to me about it. He also wrote them in a form that I have come to love, which is sort of like linked stories. Which is, I mean, the way I'm approaching my own book. They're linked essays, when each essay tells a story, and I think that gives you so much freedom, because within each story you have a beginning, middle, and end, and you have a sort of a finite arc, but then it links directly to the next one, and you realize, oh, this character actually went on living after his story. It shows the continuum of life. So
Yeah, I think that's actually a really interesting point about linked essays. I know we're kind of running away from it, but that I know also as a nonfiction writer, actually even as a fiction writer, is that like making those linked essays. Kate, maybe you know some. I can't think of off the top of my head like some linked like fiction, like short stories. I can't.
Nalini Jones, What You
Right.
Call Her, they're pretty linked, and also Olive Kitteridge by Elizabeth Strout.
Um,
They a lot of the stories share the same characters.
and I just thought that that was always it's I think that's really really difficult to do because as Colin is doing, I'm sort of doing linked essays, sort of, but you run into the trouble of becoming of like repeating like the same thing. Like he was a tall guy with brown hair, like in every single essay, because you're thinking, I want this to stand alone, but I want this to be linked, things like that. So it's linked essays are tricky because you can't if your reader has read this fact about their character already, they're not going to want to read it 6 more times in like 6 different ways. So it's I just
maybe
want
they
to kind of
will. People do that.
right, right.
Yeah.
Let me ask
Oh,
you this.
I have to add. I know that I kind of talked smack on her earlier in the blog, but Little Women and Jo March also made me want to write, and in sort of in the same way with Colin, where she was just writing about her family, and she had tried to write all these fantastical things, and finally the book that made her famous or got her published was just writing what she knew, and I realized that I could do that. I could write what I knew,
Hmm.
and be happy doing that. So.
I'm
I
so
just had
happy that we all have different experiences with the books. Is that it's not just we didn't read like a craft book in like undergrad or something. It's like this makes me want to write because I know how to do it. It's not. I like that it's we all had very very different experiences with books that brought us kind of to the same place, and that's really cool.
Oh, Zach, you crapped out for a second there.
Did I?
You're
I can
back.
still
All
hear you
right.
though.
You guys want to talk about what's coming up this week on the blog?
Hmm.
Let's do it.
All right. So Monday we're going to have a writing prompt.
Hmm.
It's going to be a surprise one because we did not talk about that.
I'll come up with one this time.
Coco is going to do a writing
Oh,
prompt for you
Yeah.
guys. That'll be fun. And then on Tuesday, that's Colin again, right?
Yes. This week is just gonna be all me. Um, um, I'm going to write about the idea that I got from one of my mentors, Marita Golden, of testifying in nonfiction, writing nonfiction as a way of writing testimony. It'll be great. Read it.
Cool. All right. And on Wednesday, I'm talking about coming out as a writer.
Ah,
So,
funny because you're gay.
So
right.
yes, look for that. Owning the idea of being a writer and what that means.
And on Thursday, I'm going to talk about visual text. I'm going to define the term that I'm pretty sure I coined. Um, I'm pretty sure I did, but who knows?
Do it.
Maybe it's
Own
still-
it. Own it, Zach.
I'm
So
owning that I made a
humble.
really great term.
He's so
Um,
humble and modest. I just love it.
So I'm going to talk about visual text. I'm going to give some examples and show why I think visual texts are so successful.
And then Friday we will have a wrap up and possibly a book review.
Hmm.
And not on a Saturday like we did this week. And then Saturday,
Maybe a guest blog with one of you kids.
maybe a guest blog. Submit an idea, and you can write for It's Just Brunch this week. And then Sunday we will be back with our mimosas. So cheers,
Right.
everybody. Good to see you guys.
Great to see you guys.
Yeah.
Have a good week, everyone, and we will see you over on the blog. Like us, share us, Facebook us, tweet us. Please be our friend on Twitter.
Instagram, Pinterest.
Colin better start an Instagram because he's making a lot of promises.
We need a new picture for the website. We forgot to take one.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, we'll deal with that.
We're horrible.
We're in good shape today.
We're in great shape today. I look like I haven't slept for 6 years.
You do.
Okay, have a great day, guys.
All right. Bye, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.
And done.